Welcome to Waking the Why, a podcast about uncovering the purpose behind life's crucible moments. Each episode, you'll hear from real people who turn their struggles into strength and their stories into light. If you're searching for meaning, walking through something hard, or just love stories that stir the soul, you're in the right place.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Waking the Why, where we discover the purpose behind life's crucible moments. My name is Stacy Peterson, and our guest today is Nathan Ogden. Nathan, thank you so much for joining me today. And
excited to be here.
behind us, right? I mean, Chad, mutual friend, kind of connected us together, so we'll give a shout out to Chad there. But to start, Nathan, why don't tell us your story?
All right, to make it simple so we can get into some other good stuff would be at 26 years old, I had married a gorgeous, amazing wife that I met at college. We had two very little kids, a 2-year-old little girl and a 1-year-old boy. And I went snow skiing 3 days before Christmas in Bend, Oregon, where my wife is from. And I live in Boise, Idaho. And we were over there for Christmas, and I went up with my brother-in-law, and we were skiing, and I came off a jump. I like going off jumps. I don't do a lot of tricks, but I love going off jumps. And I hit a jump that I hadn't been off before too hard. And instead of shooting me kind of out and up like a jump should, I went almost straight up in the air, about 30 feet into the air. And that was from the people watching, said that I got that height. I remember every bit of it. And I rotated backwards. I came down. I landed on my neck, and my body collapsed on me, and it shattered my C7 vertebrae in my neck. And I was instantly paralyzed. I didn't realize that. I just thought I knocked the wind out of myself, but I couldn't get up. That made for a very long next year. Me being paralyzed, having a halo on, having so many things wrong with me. But even initially, I was paralyzed everywhere, and I had a ventilator hooked up to my throat to breathe for me. And so I couldn't even breathe on my own. And so when my wife came in to tell me that I had broke my neck and all this was happening, all I could do was blink. I couldn't even console her and say, hey, don't worry, we got this. We'll get through it. The kids will be all right. So that next year, we worked really hard. And I say we because it was a team effort. I got back most of my upper body, the movement, and my legs were starting to move a little bit. And so I was still progressing. I was still moving forward. And in my mind, I knew I'd walk again. Love sports. I love hiking and everything else in the mountains. And so to me, it was like, I may not play soccer again, but I am going to walk. Like, no doubt, I will do it. And so 13 months after that neck break, I started working full time again. I had a truck equipped that I could drive with my hands. We'd renovated our house. Like, things were different, but we still had our family. We still had our dreams. We still had each other. We still had our faith. I came down with pneumonia. I went unconscious in my sleep because my blood oxygen level dropped too low. This is 13 months after I broke my neck. They rushed me into the hospital early in the morning. I'm still unconscious. I'm on the x-ray table, and they've got me propped up to take some x-rays of my lungs. And while I'm laying there unconscious, we're still not sure exactly what happened. It's me, the x-ray tech in the room, and my wife is sitting in a chair right outside the room. And I fell off the x-ray table and broke my neck again, this time higher up at the C6 level. And because of that, I lost the use of my hands. So I can't move my fingers at all. I can only pull my wrist one direction and not the other. And I lost my triceps. So I'll move my arms around, but really I can't straighten my arm out right now. And I lost everything that I'd regained from the chest down. So those beliefs, that dream of walking again was now gone. I think that was probably out of the 2 neck breaks, that moment was probably one of the hardest, was realizing all these things that I've envisioned for so long aren't going to happen from a standing position. And my life just got rocked. I've got to figure out how to deal with that. And I did. I think I went into a depression for a while. I didn't know it. I didn't admit it, but my wife saw it. It was a tough time, and we were able to come out of it. And 24 years ago, last month, so that I broke my neck the first time. So it's been a while that I've been in a wheelchair pushing around.
Right. So you break your neck the first time and you put forth all of this work. You have this belief you're going to walk again. I'm assuming it was lots of physical therapy probably daily different activities to regain the mobility that you did.
Yeah, tremendous amount.
So then you're on a table, unconscious, so you really don't know what transpired. When you become conscious after breaking your neck the second time, who broke the news to you of what happened?
My wife Heather did. I remember coming to, they put me on oxygen and I was in a separate room. I think the lights were off. I was cold. They had me wrapped up and I started coming to, and she walked in and she told me what had happened, that I broke my neck again. They were taking me to another hospital for surgery. I said 3 words to her. It's kind of like in a movie, like it comes to the pinnacle and it's like, that big moment and you're like, did I say the right thing in that moment? And so Heather tells me all this and I'm taking it in and I just said, bring it on. Because, and I think back to that and in my mind, I realized it happened to me twice than someone else once. I already know what I'm doing. I've already been through this. So this is not a big deal. I already know what the therapies are like. I already know how to get into this. So it just give me a couple months. I'll be back to where I was. And then we keep moving forward to walking. That's my initial thought of it. Now, granted, after surgery and stuff, I'm sure it was hard physically and mentally, but I still knew, doesn't matter, I'll be back fast. No problem.
So when did you realize that you weren't going to be back to where you were?
I think it was probably around 3 months that I was working really hard and I could see some movement in different areas, but the things that I'd lost just weren't coming back. Yeah, that was when it slowly started sinking in that, man, this is not the way I want it to be. Like I'm going to need a lot more help in life than I won't have the independence that I was planning on having.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine what those thoughts would be for you going through that. And then the conversations. How did your wife handle it? What was her response and reaction?
I think she wanted to kill the people in the x-ray room initially, and the way they handled, there's a lot of stuff that they did wrong, like just picking me up and throwing me back on the table without thinking that maybe I got hurt, whatever. But my wife is an extraordinary person. Like if I think of like best decisions that I've ever made or people that were put into my life for a reason, it's her. It was fighting to get her convinced that I'm the right guy for her.
How long did that take?
To dump her boyfriend and date me. But it worked. And we got together. And I think of different people I'd been on dates with and whatnot. And I'm like, I don't think they would have survived this. And it's true. I think in many with spinal cord injuries, and this could go for families that maybe lose a child or go through another major issue in their life, the majority, they don't last. And we were told that initially, within a few months of me breaking my neck the first time, was just plan on getting a divorce because that's what happens. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Get out of here.
Right.
Like, you don't say that.
Mm-mm.
So I'm not going to say it's been easy. We've definitely both of us have had very tough, lonely times where I'm in my head and I'm thinking that I'm struggling to find purpose. I'm struggling to find what I can do again, what value I have, what can I even give back to the world? And my wife's trying to motivate me and show me that I can, and she's not seeing it. And then it's hard on her having to take care. All of a sudden she's got 2 little kids and a paralyzed husband at 24 years old. Like, I can't imagine what that'd be like for her. Yeah. But she's a stalwart. I say she goes into rock mode. She just kind of like changes and she just gets it done.
It's amazing to have people in our lives like that, right? When I think about marriage and relationships, I think all too often we think that we have to be perfect every single day. We have to be able to be on our A game, right? And I think sometimes the reality is I might have a day where I'm just bringing 70% and that's about all I got, right? And there's days where Cody, my husband, will come home and he's like, it's all good. I got you. We're good, right? But then there's those days where we're both at like 30% and we don't have enough to compensate for the other. And I think in those moments, we need to give each other grace And then also be okay if we need to like stay away from each other for a minute, right? Because I might say something that I would regret or what have you. But I think that's the beauty of marriage and relationship is that balance of strength and love and kindness and growth. But it's so hard. I think one of the hardest things that I've done in my life has been marriage. But it's been one of the best things too. And so when you take something that I think is already hard and you add something on, not just one neck break, but two, which just seems like it's fake. Like there's no way that could be true, right? It blows my mind of what you guys have experienced.
I did give her an out. I said if I break my neck a third time, she's free to leave.
Oh, that's.
And I think she would take me up on that one. So I go snow skiing in a couple weeks, and I know when I do this, it's hard for me to just, because I'm not good at it, and somebody's usually like got a tether, like a rope behind me slowing me down.
Yeah.
Because I'll just get out of control because I'm like, this is fun and I got to go faster, and then I'm just flipping tied to some ski down the run, and I don't know how I don't break my neck again. Because I do believe like I'm not here just to be careful. Like I do want to live life. I want to experience. I want my heart rate to go up.
Were you okay with that from the very beginning of like, I'm going to live life, I'm still going to do X, Y, Z? Or did you find yourself more cautious in the beginning and maybe limiting yourself? What did that look like for you?
No, I think I still wanted to do a lot of stuff. I'm not an adrenaline junkie, but I do love adventure. I was just taught that from a young kid. So I remember on Father's Day, just many years ago, my wife gave me, because I always wanted to go skydiving. Oh. And I never got a chance before I broke my neck. And she gave me the gift to go skydiving. And she said that she would go with me. And she didn't want to go, but she was trying to overcome some stuff right then in her life. And so she's like, let's do it. So, I mean, I've done skydiving. I've been scuba diving with sharks in the ocean. I've been snow skiing again, rafting. Like I've rappelled off a 150-foot cliff down in St. George. Like I've had the opportunity to do a lot of stuff adventures that help me continue to live the life that I want to live. Just because I'm paralyzed doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to go do stuff. 100%. It just means I need a little more help doing it. It allows, when people see that I'm doing this, it allows them to go, oh, maybe I can do that too.
Yeah, it is definitely being inspirational. Let me ask you a quick question. You'd mentioned a little earlier that after the second break, you find yourself in a depression. You just gave examples of all this adventurous stuff that you did. How did you go from this depression time of your life to where you see life still as an adventure that you get to live and enjoy?
I still did a lot of stuff when I was in this depression. Like I was coaching my kids' soccer teams while I was going to their concert. I wasn't sitting at home watching Netflix. And so I was still doing stuff, but I would get up in the morning, I'd go into my office in the house, and I'd have all these big plans. And then by 5 o'clock or something, I'm like, I didn't get anything done. And I couldn't figure out why. And I was, all right, tomorrow's another day. So I think I saw it differently than maybe my family saw me in that. There wasn't a change. Maybe one changed it is they had me, I was on different medications for nerve pain. One of them was actually an it was for nerve pain, but it also was an antidepressant. It made me just blah. Like I didn't laugh, I didn't cry. I was just there. And I finally, after a while, when I started figuring that out, like my little kids would come up. Because we had 2 little kids. After both neck breaks, we were able to have 2 more kids. That's a different podcast. So like my little kids are coming up and they're just like, Dad, how come you never cry? And I'm like, well, I didn't cry much before. And they're like, but you don't even laugh. And I'm like, well, I laugh, don't I? And I guess I wasn't. Yeah. And so I decided I would rather be in more pain, but be present mentally so I could be present in my life with my family, job, everything else, and just deal with the pain, than be in less pain and just not be present. And that was I think that was a big defining change in my life at that point, and started putting me in the right direction.
So speaking of adventures, I saw your 1,200-mile ride. So tell us about that. What was that all about, and who was all involved in it?
It was my wife, as usual, coming up with some idea. So she came to our family. Our youngest was 10, the oldest was 17, I think. And she said, I think we need to do something big to help other people get more independence, to get wheelchairs, because we understand it. We understand the lifestyle. She wouldn't even talk to me about it beforehand. I'm like, so what's this big idea? Oh, I don't know. You're going to have to wait and hear it with the family. I'm like, and this is what parents do. We discuss and then we take it to the kids. No, not this time. So she brought it up to the family, and it was to ride bicycles 1,200 miles. So from where I broke my neck at Mount Bachelor in Bend, Oregon, down to Santa Monica Pier in Los Angeles. 1,200 miles to ride bikes. And we're the athletic family, but we're not a bike riding family. So at that point, there were 6 in the family. We had 3 bikes and 2 of them had flats. And my wife, she's never one to I'm like, okay, so we can start planning this. Maybe a year from now, we can do this. She's like, no, let's go. So 4 months from that night, we were on the road, on sketchy roads along the California and Oregon coastlines with a 10-year-old zipping along on this bike. And it was crazy, and it was hard. Our kids had to push themselves to do things they never thought they could do. I had a hand bike that I was pedaling for as much as I could. It was never about us. Throughout, we had a camper we're pulling and staying in RV parks, and because we didn't have any money to do this, and we're just trying to raise money for others. But all throughout it, we posted pictures of people with deformed legs and crawling on the ground in different countries and whatnot. And so it was always about others. And it was the best thing ever, because our kids never, how did that take us? We did it in 12 days, but some of it took a little longer than that, back and forth. Our kids never complained. They never fought with each other. They never bickered, and they were being put in some really tough spots. And that's when I first learned, and this works good for business, family, whatever, is if the focus isn't on you guys, but it's focused on someone else, everyone else gets along better. Everyone can work together better, because it's never about me or you, how it looks or what. It's about how do we serve them. And if we can serve them, we'll get through this, and we'll push ourselves harder than we would otherwise.
Oh, I love it. There's something powerful about being behind a purpose, right? When you have purpose and you're doing it together, and you're serving, and you have that visual, it's a beautiful thing, right? It's just, how do we find that in our normal everyday lives when, we all can't pick up and do a $1,200 bike ride every 12 days
But that's the whole thing. It doesn't, and people looked at that and they're like, oh, I can't do something that big. And I'm like, well, you don't have to do something that big. You go pull the weeds for your neighbor down the street. You just got to go do something for somebody else. And it was because of that bike ride that ended up starting a nonprofit. We didn't want a nonprofit. We got back from that. We went to a month later, after we got done doing this huge thing, raising, it was almost $50,000 for wheelchairs. Mm-hmm. We were going to go on a trip that next spring to go deliver the wheelchairs that we raised the money for. I went to a college football game here in Boise, and my wife piggybacked me down to some seats. And at halftime, she was piggybacking me back up to my wheelchair, and came around the corner and it was gone. Someone had stolen my wheelchair. And we're like, what the? And all we could do was lay in bed that night laughing, what does the Lord have in store for us now? And that's kind of rolled into a lot of stuff, but that's how Share the Hope, our nonprofit, began 7.5 years ago. And since that time, we've given out, what have we done now? We have given out, I have this. We've been to 10 different countries. We've done 31 humanitarian trips. We have given out over 6,500 wheelchairs, personally delivered and given them out and met the people and lifted them up and put them in wheelchairs so they can live a better life.
What is that like to have that moment with those individuals?
That brings me back to my why. Initially, my why was about my family and my faith. That's what pushed me through the 2 neck breaks. That's what kept me wanting to live. I want to be there for them. But I couldn't figure out why I had to break my neck twice. What's the purpose of that? It took many years till now I can look back and say, I would have never started a nonprofit around it and helped thousands of people have better independence throughout the world. If I could have walked again, I probably never would have done that. So after that first neck break, if I would have walked, I probably would not have done this. The second neck break put me in a place that now I would. Is this the full purpose? I think much of it is. And it's allowed me to be on stages and work with companies and to be able to motivate and teach and train people all over the world that I probably wouldn't have done if I just got my HR degree.
Right. What would you say is, I'm sure you have many messages, right? As you go around the world and sharing with individuals and community groups and businesses, but what's your favorite message to share?
Two things that go together. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. The sooner you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, that's when the magic happens. It's outside your comfort zone is when change really takes place. Going with that is it's keep pushing. So if you're really struggling, like I did it many times, and I'll admit I still do. There's definitely moments where I'm like, oh, this is always worth it. I just have to realize I got to keep pushing. I'll get through this. You will get through this. Whatever it is you're struggling with, just keep pushing. You'll come out the other side. And it may take a while for you to realize what your purpose, what your why is, but eventually you will. Just like it took me years to realize it. But now I know.
Oh, it's so good. Here's my final question for you. We have our audience, and many of them, probably none of them, have broken their neck twice. But every single one of us are experiencing something hard. Sometimes in our hard, the hardest part of it's just the middle, when you just don't even know what's going on, how long it's going to last, and you're just begging for relief, right? In some way. What would you tell to our audience that are just in the middle of their hard?
That's a great question, because it's at the beginning of a trial, you still have the motivation, you still have the energy. At the end of it, you're coming out of it and you're seeing the light. It is that middle. It's that tough spot. And I think that's when it's during the middle is when we realize what really matters to us. It matters that's when we realize what we're willing to fight harder for. I can't give you an answer to that other than that's when I hit that middle, and I was literally on my deathbed as the ventilator breathing for me was malfunctioning and no one's in the room. And so I'm suffocating in the ICU and nobody's around. I won't get into the whole story, but it's like I started thinking maybe I don't need to be here. Having dark thoughts of it'd be better for my wife and my kids if I was not here. They wouldn't have to deal with me and all this trial. So I was kind of to the point, it's okay, let this machine just stop. And then it hit me. At that moment, I actually pictured myself kneeling down next to my gurney, but I'm completely paralyzed at the time, kneeling down and saying a prayer. And it just hit me so strong. And it was like, no, these are my kids. Those are my memories. I get to be there for their soccer games. I get to be to the choir concerts and their weddings, and I get to do that. And it's my job. That's my wife, not someone else's wife. And I need to be there for it. I need to fight for this. And it was at that moment when I realized this is going to suck and it's going to be hard. I am willing to fight. And it doesn't mean that I was weak. I mean, I was definitely weak at times since I made that decision. And I had my ups and downs like crazy, but I had made the decision I wasn't going to quit. And that comes back to the keep pushing. You'll get through it.
Oh, Nathan, thank you so much. This has been amazing to hear your story and to feel of your strength. My friends, you heard it from Nathan. A few things that I wrote down that I think I'm going to take away from this is, one, the attitude of just bring it on, right? I love it because there's so much uncertainty ahead, but if you start with the attitude of just bring it on, you can go with that energy. And the other thing is just, get comfortable with being uncomfortable and just keep pushing through that. Those are beautiful things for us to consider and ponder. Thank you again, Nathan.
I appreciate it. Just know, I mean, this podcast is a a great example. There's plenty of light out there. Search it, look for it, and it'll help you.
Thank you for joining me on Waking the Why. If today's story moved you, share it with someone who needs it. And don't forget, your why is worth waking up for.